Mr. Ivey from Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the chance to let me weigh in today. Because it's such an important hearing. Mr. Turley, it's good to see you again. You should get office space here on the Hill, I think. This is our third or fourth committee hearing together. I do want to say this. You know, impeachment is one of the greatest powers that the Constitution gives to the House of Representatives. And I think it's important to make sure that we treat it with that level of esteem. But I think what's going on, or has gone on here in the House for several months now, is that power has been abused. And kicking off this hearing today, and I appreciate that the word probably used most today is if, because a lot of these statements are made in the forms of allegations, but with respect to connecting them to the president, that hasn't happened. There's a lot of, well, if this is true, then that. And I don't think that's sufficient to move forward at this point. I appreciate Mr. Turley's comment. I think you were saying before Ms. Boebert cut you off that it was early and that, you know, Mr. Biden hadn't been linked at this point. I think that's true. He hasn't been linked to any of these allegations that have been raised. I did want to talk about a couple of them specifically. With respect to the prosecutor issue, the removal of Prosecutor General Shokin, a couple of points I want to make on that front. Key one, I think, is that the removal of Shokin was actually detrimental to Hunter Biden and Burisma, because it was pretty clear, based on statements and testimony that's been given here in the House before these committees and in other instances, that he was not doing a great job, to say the least. He was sitting on the investigation. He wasn't moving it forward. I think there have been statements that have been made with respect to the IMF pressuring to have him removed by threatening to withhold $40 billion in international assistance unless he was removed. President Biden's request to have him removed along those lines was actually consistent not only with what he pushed for, or the IMF pushed for, but what others were pushing for as well, including Senator Johnson, I believe, on that front. So what we've got here is an effort to argue by our Republican colleagues that the removal of this prosecutor, or President Biden asking or pressing to have him removed, was in some way an effort to undermine an investigation for Burisma. But it's pretty clear, I think, based on, again, the testimony that we've received and that's been presented in Congress before and published in some of our documents, that that's the exact opposite. Things were moving forward, not moving forward with him there. They were more likely to move forward without him. And so there's really no linkage there between the president and derailing any kind of investigation. With respect to the Devon Archer statements, Devon Archer said he's confirmed that over his decade-long business relationship with Hunter Biden, he never heard Hunter Biden discuss business with his father, either on phone calls or in person. And I did want to add this as well. Mr. Biden's bookkeeper, Eric Schwerin, from 2009 to 2018, he was his bookkeeper, had access to his bank account, said that he had no knowledge of President Biden having any involvement in Hunter Biden's financial activities. With respect to the Weiss issue, and I know that's been an issue that's been pushed a lot too, that argument is that Weiss was derailing the investigation into Hunter Biden and slowing it down. The key points on that obviously are the fact that Weiss was appointed by President Trump, and as Congressman Buck said a few days ago over in the Judiciary Committee hearings, if the president had removed Weiss when he first came into office, Republicans would have argued that that was an effort to derail the investigation against Hunter Biden. In fact, when the Attorney General testified, he noted that he had Senate Republicans who explicitly wanted him and sort of pressed for in their personal meetings that he promised not to remove Weiss or replace him. And we've had other testimony with respect to the FBI supervisors, the special agent who was in the SAC for the investigation, working with Mr. Weiss. Question, have you ever known U.S. Attorney Weiss to make prosecutorial decisions based upon political influence? Answer, no. Have you ever known any of the AUSAs in the U.S. Attorney's Office or the Office of Delaware to let their prosecutorial decisions be guided by political interference? Answer, no. So I apologize for running over, but
Gentlemen, time's expired. Chair now recognizes
Another
Mr.
unanimous
Fry from South Carolina.
request, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to enter